Hi all, and welcome back to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. For those of you who are new today, Aspie, I'm all about creating mental health and autism videos with tips and advice along the way, educating and advocating you all with this, as well as making my main goal as inclusion, awareness and acceptance and advocacy of the 3 triple A's of saying this. Also, I do some other host of videos with some fun and games and some other variety videos to jazz it up a bit so that hopefully you can understand me more as an autistic while I'm taking you all on a journey when I am able. So if you're into any of these folks, don't forget to smash that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, so that when I post in the future, like I say, I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So as you're aware, basically, as I said, I'm going to also, just a heads up to let you know that I'll be posting maybe come close to the end of this week or sometime of the following week to give you a live update on my Instagram and Twitter feed. So for anyone of you that are following me, please keep an eye out for that as well. I might post on my actual Facebook page as well, just to give you a quick update when it will be thing, to keep you in the loop of what's happening of these changes that may take into effect now and in the future of my future planning on my. As a disclaimer, as always, before we begin this, basically, I'm no medical doctor, I'm just your normal average Joe blog. So if you see anything out of the ordinary, do seek medical advice for yourself or your loved one, or seek professional help for yourself and your loved one, because I don't condone self-help. We're basically, right now, I have been trying to do some videos that are autistic related, obviously, to get off the topic of grief and loss, so I don't depress you all, as they say, but that will come in hopefully in the near future of finishing up some loose ends of some of the topics that comes under that banner. For the meantime, basically, I'm going to introduce you guys now in another autistic related video that will be branched out into series, which this is one is a real quick introductory video for it, which is the types of interventions for children with autism spectrum disorder. As we are well aware, basically, you know, if you have a child with autism spectrum disorder, or maybe you say you're working with a child with autism spectrum disorder, you'll come across many different therapies or interventions, or even some form of treatments for the condition itself. There's no need to become an expert on them on all of them, however, just to bear in mind. But if you can get a handle on the main intervention types that are available, you'll be better able to understand your child's or someone else's child's options and needs when it arises. So basically, you may be questioning, so the very first question, what are the interventions for autism spectrum disorder? I hear, as we know, intervention means doing something, taking action, or using a treatment to try to improve a particular condition or problem. When it comes to autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, abbreviated down for short and in the medical terms, there are many kinds of interventions. Different interventions might involve children, parents, or even both. There might be some one-off events here, say, or involve many sessions that are spread over the years to come. What types of interventions are there? Well, there's a huge range of interventions for autism spectrum disorder. They range from those based on behaviour and development to those based on medicine or alternative therapy. Some interventions combine several different types. For example, a mix of behavioural and developmental approaches. Interventions are based on different theories about the causes of autism spectrum. These theories, however, guide us to the approach that needs to be taken. So hearing the theory behind an intervention helps you understand what's trying to do. A classic example here, a theory about chemical imbalance in the body leading to autism spectrum is taking prescribed drugs or making changes in the diet for the child to address the imbalance of the body. What I'm about to share with you all is a summary of the main types of intervention with a look at what some of the research has been saying. This is just one way to categorize interventions, though, to be in mind. This is going to be a quick comprehensive introductory guide, as I said, and you'll find that some interventions based on or include the use of others, as I said. Your choices of autism spectrum disorder interventions will depend a lot on what's right for your child or the person you're working with, that you're teaching, or what have you. Ideally, medical professionals will work with you to find an intervention that suits your child and family, or whoever that it is working with the child. Early interventions that use a behavioural or educational focus have the best outcomes for the majority of children with autism spectrum. These interventions include programs that use applied behaviour analysis principles to teach new skills. Even though, as I said before, I'm going to, as a trigger warning, I know for a fact that many people on the autistic community doesn't want to hear this about the, applied behaviour analysis kind of therapy, which therefore basically I'm gonna, like I said in one of my videos, do some of my research to the reasons to why, and maybe give my approach to it about how I feel about the therapy after doing my close research. So please keep it a lie down for that. So under the category for behavioural interventions, behaviour-based approaches to autism spectrum disorder focus on teaching children new behaviours, right, and skills by using specialised structured techniques. These techniques are the best teaching tools for developing skills and encouraging the right and appropriate behaviours. Behaviour-based approaches are probably the most studied and best supported by evidence and research so far. Therefore, the most commonly used of intervention for children with autism spectrum disorder. Interventions using the applied behaviour analysis approach are particularly common and is well supported. There's still some discussion about different behaviour-based interventions, however, and how the research on them should be interpreted. For example, it isn't always clear whether the research is claiming that the intervention has led to recovery or to a reduction in some of the symptoms of autism. So some of the examples of the behaviour-based interventions include that I might, hopefully, as I do my research, break down into these little mini-series for you guys as follows. Discrete trial training, Douglas Developmental Disability Centre Program, Incidental Teaching, LOVIS Program, Pivotal Response Treatment, Positive Behaviour Support, Princeton Child Development Institution Program. Under the developmental interventions, some of the developmental approaches to autism spectrum disorder, main aim here is to help children form positive, meaningful relationships with other people around them. The focus on teaching children social and communication skills in everyday structured settings, as well as the environment that they're in. They also aim to help children develop skills for their daily living. Although there isn't enough good quality research on developmental interventions, however, studies on small parts of some of these interventions have shown potentially positive results. Developmental interventions are sometimes called normalized interventions. So the examples for this category of developmental interventions may include developmental social pragmatic model, IR floor time, relationship development intervention, combined interventions. So as we know, as I said, some approaches may combine certain elements of behavioural and developmental methods and also use new information about autism spectrum disorder in typical development. Often a combined approach is the most effective way. So it brings together the characteristics of several good interventions. For example, to include here is any behavioural intervention will be much more effective if it's also family-based and get everybody involved. So the examples of combined interventions may include the following: Early Start Denver model, SCERTS model, TEACCH. Another one will be your family-based interventions. Family-based interventions for autism spectrum disorder emphasizes that the idea involves family in therapy that is central to meeting the children's behavioural and developmental needs. In particular, parents not only drive the decision making about interventions, but they also take the key role in delivering. These interventions are designed to provide guidance, training and information and support to family members. Research on how well family-based interventions work is limited but is also growing. The success of these interventions depends on having strong and collaborative peer professional relationships. The effectiveness also relies on addressing the needs of the whole family so that everyone in the family benefits, not just the child with autism spectrum disorder, however. An example of family-based intervention is the More Than Words program. Therapy-based interventions. There has been some therapy-based approaches to autism spectrum disorder that provides a specific therapy that targets specific difficulties. Some examples may include the following: speech therapy, obviously, to maybe develop a child's communication and social skills. Occupational therapy to develop the skills for daily life, including the physical skills, so that it can help them to actually move around and everything, because as I said before, most of us autistics, as we get older or what have you, we tend to get a bit clumsy. I'm sure that's how one of them. Therapy-based approaches are often used together with or as part of other intervention programs, as I've clearly mentioned. So some of the examples of therapy-based interventions include functional communication training, sign language, picture exchange communication system. Every now and then you'll hear about a new miracle cure for autism spectrum disorder. So far, there's no proven to have done this as a cure for autism spectrum disorder. Rather, most medication is used to improve but not necessarily remove the problems that are sometimes seen in children with autism spectrum disorder. The problems may include that you have seen behavior associated with ADHD like inattention or hyperactivity, symptoms of anxiety, obsessive compulsive behavior, self-harming behaviors, sleep disorders. Prescribed medications, however, might reduce some of these behaviors enough so that the behavioral or developmental interventions are most effective. Some sorts of medical interventions include atypical antipsychotics, typical antipsychotics, and stimulants. A note for things to consider about some medications: it's always best to talk through about the medical options and use with the doctor, because there are some clear rules about how medical interventions should be managed. Some medication have had positive effects on particular symptoms like aggressive or hyperactive behaviors, but measuring the effects properly isn't easy, and symptoms need to be monitored very carefully. Also, more research is needed on the long-term side effects of the medications that are given. Check with your doctor first that medication you're using or has been suggested has been tested with children. Some medications have been shown to be ineffective and or harmful for children with autism spectrum disorder, include adrenocortisotrophin hormone, or in short ACTH, and naltrexone. The alternative interventions for autism spectrum disorder includes a broad range of treatments not often used in the mainstream medical system, because they're not supposed to be supported by scientific evidence here. There's a lot of discussion and controversy about alternative treatments for autism spectrum disorder. This is because there's little or no evidence to support their effectiveness. Considerable evidence shows no effect at all for some. For example, secretin. And there are potential risks are associated with some of these treatments. For example, withholding the MMR vaccine. Another common concern about these types of therapies, even though they do not harm, is that they use time, energy, and sometimes money that families otherwise spend on well-established and well-supported therapy. Examples on alternative interventions may include chelation, elimination diets, secretin, yeast overgrowth management. These include a range of interventions that sit outside the characteristics that I have listed. So far, there isn't much quality research testing the outcomes for some of these programs. A classic example of this type of intervention is music therapy. And as you're aware, basically, before I wrap this up, I have actually done some of these therapies and interventions in one of my videos, which I'll hopefully find, like example was this last one, music therapy and elimination diets and all that, in an iCard above me, as well as in the description below me, I should say. So this ends quickly a quick introduction about the therapies and interventions that are used for autistic children. Smash the like. Feel free to comment below if you're an autistic, and like for some of these interventions that I have said about, as well as some of the therapies for those of you who are autistic, what sort of ones do you use and how do you feel about them? You know, please give us your feedback about it, you know, as well as basically how long you've been doing it, has it worked for you, has it not, what could have been done better or handled better when you've done these therapies or interventions with, you know, the medical team versus, you know, your teachers or whoever it may be that are involved with your support network. So no further ado, guys, thanks for support, thanks for watching, do what you love you do. Until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.
Don't forget that I have got a merch store that I'm trying to hopefully add a bit more, the Patreon account. For those of you who are new today, Patreon is like a subsidy account for us creators, be it music creators, content creators that are doing mental health or water form. It is that they're using as a form of the platform on YouTube, Twitch, or wherever else they may likely to fly about. Basically a bit about giving back to you guys when you do support, so feel to donate to me, big or small, no pressure basically, but I'd very much appreciate it if you did. But hey, this will cover my cost of my rent, the travel when I do some more travelling with Aspie series, or just travelling in general, as well as maybe better recording equipment, so to speak, with the camera setup and whatnot, so that I'm not solely relying on my phone, and many other parts that were thing, and in saying this, with the Patreon account, basically you'll see that I've been trying to do some benefits and ties for you to give back to you as a thank you for, you know, joining with me, even though some of it will be maybe for free, some of it, you know, maybe need out of my pocket to send you guys certain stuff back, if it may be, if you donate to a certain amount, merch of your choice, versus basically maybe if I can afford to print the Patreon account. For those of you who are new today, Patreon is like a subsidy account for us creators, be it music creators, content creators that are doing mental health or water form. It is that they're using as a form of the platform on YouTube, Twitch, or wherever else they may likely to fly about. Basically a bit about giving back to you guys when you do support, so if you feel to donate to me, big or small, no pressure basically, but I'd very much appreciate it if you did. But hey, this will cover my cost of my rent, the travel when I do some more travelling with Aspie series, or just travelling in general, as well as maybe better recording equipment, so to speak, with the camera setup and whatnot, so that I'm not solely relying on my phone of that Journey Through the Mind series to be a more depth storyline. Please feel free, because I'm hoping later today, if all goes to plan, and I'm hoping to maybe get someone on the side to maybe animate them or what have you. And I'm saying this also, if you've seen some of my other videos, be it through my, you know, poetry, my baking with Aspie and everything else, please let me know what you would see more of, because at this point of time, it's all about giving back to you guys regardless, but I know I should be focusing solely on mental health and awareness and acceptance and inclusion as an advocate, but I would like to try and bring in some mixture of things so I don't, you know, bore you guys, so that you can just, instead of getting to know me, maybe getting to know others that were interested in coming into play. And then there's also just a heads up, basically I was hoping in the works later today to do a second part of my book that I did based on my life of an Aspie, looking through the life of Asperger's syndrome or something along those. I'll link the link in the description below based on that as well, so that if any one of you that are maybe autistic and are from the autistic community groups and you're interested in participating, let me know, so that maybe we can get the ball rolling and get the short stories done and up as well as a third part of my book series, because I'm still thinking that there are certain topics I may have not touched base on from the first part of my book of the Journey Through Life with Asperger's syndrome of mine. And to wrap it up, basically I have some other funding pages, like basically GoFunding or some other funding page that I've got, that if you're interested in maybe doing it through there instead of through basically Patreon. But as you know, Patreon and this other one, you have the option of PayPal and just insert bank account details and whatnot. And then saying this also, I'm trying to keep my blog up to date so I can create it as a website hopefully as of before next year, because that's my main goal. I'm still looking for someone who is willing to actually maybe help me design it from WordPress, to actually put this web address in and stuff and tidy it up, so that we can actually put other bits and pieces in that you may want to see on there, so to speak, if you've seen it, sort of thing. You know, hopefully you're enjoying some of the read-ups of what I write, even though it's similar to what I share with you guys of certain videos I may have put out, sort of thing. So it's easier for you guys when you come onto my WordPress site, that if you're a visual person instead of like a reader person, some of it is similar, but it should hopefully have some bits and pieces. And also in saying this, I'm at this point of time been away for a few times too, because of the subtitling I'm doing. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and do what you love what you do. Until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.